Bump and draft.
I'm already going. Bump, draft, and pray podcast. It's going to be fixed. Final output. And welcome. And
Hello, everyone. Yeah, how are you?
how do I hear it? Oh, I'm very sorry. So,
What are you watching with babies crying?
it is actually for
Microphone?
what's-
I don't know. What's the matter?
Oh,
Oh, you...
my mic.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah, that's better. Is it working now? Yeah. So that's not low sound. So let's start again. Welcome to the Bump Draft and Pray podcast. And today we have some very nice subjects for you. We're going to review the Formula One and WEC seasons for so far, and it's it's going. Thank you, Rui, and it's going to be a very interesting one. So joining me is Mr. Earl Goddard.
Hello. How are you?
I'm very nice. So we'll pretend we're not talking 5 minutes ago. Yeah.
Yeah, well, obviously.
So, where should we start this? Maybe we should go upwards in terms of championship positions. Formula One. We'll start now. Formula One. And that leads us to, unfortunately, Williams. Yeah.
The fallen giant.
The fallen giant. So, Williams, if I remember well, didn't have a horrendous preseason, but it was not that good as well because they have some reliability problems with brakes. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and then they're just slow. Which is the sad point about it. Doesn't matter what they do.
Yeah.
They're missing something somewhere, aren't they?
Yeah, they had quite an interesting design from the beginning. The car looked great. It had very nice front end, like really retro kind of looking, and the blue paint, like the dark blue paint, helped a lot. But once we got to Bahrain, it didn't look that. Really starts by showing the results. So we had Lafitte at 16th and Super Sub Hulkenberg behind him, and was the only one behind him that finished. And then Mr. Albono at 13th, but I don't think that they were particularly very good race. They improved a little bit, but this race was a bit of a I'm trying not to curse, but it was not that good of a race.
We're not swearing in this podcast. Okay, I'll try to remember.
Not swear, but I don't know. Let's ask Rui if we should contain ourselves. It's not easy.
No, I think they, like you say, they started. The livery looked nice, the car looked nice, and all the potential always was there. But the reality of, I think they started the not painting the car, or not painting all of the car.
Yeah, because we should mention that actually Alfa Romeo was the only car that adhered to the weight limit. All of the other ones were heavier.
Yep.
and it's actually one of the easiest places to gain like or lose weight is paint because you don't really need it. And to be honest, Williams was not the only one to do that. I think McLaren also did about the same thing. Like,
To be fair,
was
Williams were
a-
probably doing it to save money more than save weight.
oh, we're going to start already. Yeah. So yeah, they had a very slow start to the season, and then we got to Australia and we had one of the most interesting um, race strategies by Mr. Albon, because that was the first time that they got points, and if I'm
Yeah,
not
he went
mistaken,
super
was
long.
yeah, super long on the hard tires, and then he just changed tires on the last lap of the race. Because for those who don't, if there's any newcomers to Formula One, you have to run two different tires on a dry race. So if the race is dry all of the way, and race control doesn't say that it's going to be a wet race at some point, you have to run two different compounds. So we have for every race, very simplistically, a hard, a medium, and a soft tire. Um, the hard tires are the ones that last the longer, but are slow, and they are going to be referenced in a certain team at some point in some race. And so yeah, he was able to make it last 57 laps with a set of tires, which is impressive, quite impressive to be honest.
That was impressive driving, definitely. Good. Yeah, no, he did well.
Did well, but it was all strategy because well, not all strategy. He was quite decently paced because he was. I think he only lost. I think he even didn't lose any place. I don't quite remember. It was April, so I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't think he lost too much in time, but yeah, he had to be fairly good on time pace to be able to make that strategy work.
Yeah, yeah.
And I suppose safety cars and everything can save the day or ruin it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then unfortunately, the only other race that they got any points, and it was again for Albon, who is, let's be honest, he's been overdriving, not overdriving the car, but taking the car to places that Lafiti can't. To be honest.
Yeah, he's picked up where George left off.
Yeah, Mr. Saturday. He's able to do some quite nice qualifying runs, but then just progressively loses on the race. But in Miami, he was able to get ninth. I think he was able to do it mainly because of crashes. Because we had in the end of the race, if I'm not mistaken, Schumacher and Vettel had a crash.
Last lap incident or second last lap?
Second last lap, because if I see correctly here, Vettel did 54 laps. So and the race was 57, so it was
That's about
3
right.
laps
Yeah.
from the end. Yeah, and then Magnussen DNF'd as well on the last lap. So might have been. He's always on the cusp of getting some points. Most weekends.
He's been fairly solid for what the equipment he has. He's doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So, do you think that they can, let's be honest, do anything with this car? Get it somewhere? Because in the beginning of the season, we were all talking about maybe Mercedes having messed up a little bit the engine, because all of the Mercedes teams were, like, to be honest, it was Williams, it was Aston, and McLaren as well, or didn't start the season that well. Although McLaren made like very sudden improvements to the car, 2 or 3 races start, but also Mercedes was finding it difficult in start of the season.
Bouncing.
So, yeah, purposing the dolphin way of doing motor racing. But now they don't have that excuse anymore, I think.
No, I don't think when it comes to Williams, as much as we all love the team, and the hard fact is, whether there's a budget cap or not, they didn't have the budget to be over the cap anyway. So they're going to struggle to develop that car anyway. They're much of a Haas were last year. They've just got to keep plodding on and hope they find something by accident, because you can't see them doing anything really, can you? As much as we don't want to say it, but
to be honest, no, I don't think that. Already,
and with fixed regs.
Yeah, fixed regs, fixed engines. Actually, we have for today we have updates on the regs. There's already a change the regs for this year on the flooring, but it's not does not concern Williams directly. It's more a Haas, I think, Red Bull thing. They were talking about the planks and the way they are mounted and all that stuff, and I think it's to prevent that. They announced it today. I actually have the FIA World Motorsports Council thing here, and they say it's going to be for this year. Yeah, it's here. Center for Flexibility changes to redefine the stiffness required of plank and skids around the thickness measurement holes. So I'm not going to pretend that I understand this or what this means exactly, because I don't.
It sounds like they're having floors flexing as opposed to staying rigid.
Yeah, but I think it's around the plank. So for those of you that don't know, we have a plank in the center of the car. Is it still wooden?
Yep.
And that's like, it has a thickness. It's a piece of wood. I don't know if it's thickness or not, but
I think they wear 10 mil. I think they wear 10 mil, but
and they wear from like when you go through the race, and you can't wear above a certain point, right? They measure
correct.
In the end of the race, and that's to prevent the cars being always banging the road, which sounds a little
stuck
bit
on the floor.
but, yeah, because we had the purposing this year, and it sounds like a way to strike the yeah. But I guess Mercedes are probably banging the sides of the floor more than the center, probably. So this was a thing that came up 1 month ago, maybe a little bit ago, because they saw something with the Haas, but the Mercedes are saying that Red Bull does it as well. But I don't think that this will concern Williams for this.
No.
It's not going to be. It's not going to be anything to do with Williams. So, any last thoughts about Williams?
Sadly, no. There's not a lot you can say. It'll be interesting to see what they do next year. That will be the only thing you can really say with them is Latifi going to stay there? Has he got a big enough wallet? Do they need the money that much? And will they keep Albon for another year?
Yeah, Albon is renewed his contract for next year.
Yes, I saw this.
Yeah,
saw that. Yeah. So it just depends.
But I don't know. We were all hopeful when last year they were It's sad that they were bought from the Williams family, but at the same time they brought in money. I think they are rehiring some staff that they lost, but I don't know. It's not going to be a magic wand that's going to solve everything, and we were maybe hoping for a little bit more this year, but it seems that they just plummeted to the bottom once Haas actually did a good car. But we're going to get to Haas in a bit.
Yeah.
So the second to last disappointment of the year, it's Aston Martin. It's actually kind of a similar point because they were the old Silverstone. I'm getting for you guys hearing, I'm getting we have a echo on my voice, but it's because we don't know what's happening on Earl's side.
It's blaming me again.
I can actually see the meters. So what we might do is, Earl, when you want to talk, just blink twice. And I'll mute you and unmute you when you want to talk. Just put one finger up. Maybe it's better because I think it's going to be distracting for some guys. But yeah, we have Aston Martin next, and Aston Martin is the old Silverstone team. It's Silverstone, right? Yeah, I already.
Yeah, they're the old Force India,
Jordan,
Biker, multiple incarnations.
Yeah.
The green Mercedes.
Yeah, and they were bought by Mr. Lawrence Stroll, and they got restructured, and and they made some changes, and they are still doing some changes to the team. And these new regs were like their first opportunity to do a real really go forward on the table, but it backfired a little bit, or massively.
I think the problem with them is, much like the Mercedes, the whole design of their car is a low rate car, and the new rules didn't seem to suit low rate cars. Hence why they were all struggling so much, and your Red Bulls and Haas's that run high rate cars naturally aren't struggling as much with the new rules. So it was just a case of the likes of Mercedes have a lot more behind them to try and claw back what they've lost, and Aston just don't have that. And at the end of the day, Lance isn't the most. He's doing a good job, but he's not regarded as the best setting up of a car driver, is he? Or the fastest of drivers.
I don't know if you can answer this for me, but what we think about Vettel's driving from his time on Red Bull is that he likes a very nice, balanced or tight back end, and to drive the way he likes, because of we were talking about blown diffuser wise and all that stuff. And I actually thought that this year, with the ground effects being that the most of the downforce was coming from the floor, that we were going to have cars that were very nicely the rear was going to be very stable, but it seems not that he isn't able to take that very much to his advantage. Is that just the car is garbage, or because it doesn't seem to be doing much better than Lance?
No, I think a lot of that also comes down to, obviously, his Red Bull days. Red Bull traditionally have always run high rake. That's their sort of ethos. So really tight front end, and then in the days of blown diffusers, just huge amounts of grip. So whether the fact of the ground effects isn't giving as much of a front end as he likes, and in that case giving too much rear end, so he's got a washy front end that he doesn't like, is it they don't have this technical staff there to deliver the car that they actually want? I don't know. It's I expected him to be a lot further up from Lance than he is, which is credit to Lance. He's driving the car properly.
Yeah, let's be a little bit more or less. I don't want to be a Lance, and I'm not a Lance hater like most people seem to be, just because his dad has the money to give him the opportunity. But he's actually not that. He's been able to get in there in fight with almost every teammate he has had. It's not that he's a slow driver. He's just not. Let's be honest. He's not a Hamilton or a Leclerc or a Verstappen. Yeah, and I don't think that Aston can rely on him to go forward, and that's why they basically contracted Alonso for that.
Yeah, I think end of the day, irrespective of who's paying for him to be there, you still got to drive the car. And he's not sticking it in a barrier every weekend, every session. So I think you've got to give him credit. Yes, he may be under alleged false pretenses, but he's still doing the job and driving the car. And he's had some good results. I think it was Turkey last year in the wet.
Yeah, his first pole position in the wet, and it was a very nice race until his tires suddenly almost exploded, and it was
inexperience of leading a race for the first time at that level, and you make quick decisions, and he got it wrong.
Yeah, and we have to be honest that Lando found himself on the same position in Russia, and it went all wrong for him as well.
Yeah, it happens, and they learn from it.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think Aston, they're going to be interesting. They got rid of Otmar, which I don't know. He's obviously not fitting in with Lawrence's visions, or he's telling Lawrence things he doesn't want to hear, which is why he's gone.
Yeah, everyone seems to think that.
And at the end of the day, when you've got squillions of money and you're not used to people saying no, you just go, okay, get someone else in. So we'll see.
We'll see. They have the money now to be at the front. They have a new factory for next year and a new wind tunnel. And let's see what they can do with that stuff. So it's going to be interesting. But this year, there's not much to talk about. They have a new side pod design. The way that it goes backwards, it's more similar to the Red Bull one, but it didn't give them all that much. And they have, for Hungary, they had a new rear ring, very different from the rest of them. But they weren't able to make that work as well. So these things might be coming from the new stuff that they hired, but the base package doesn't seem to be there. So I'm not expecting much from them this year, maybe for next year. And it's no for me at least. I don't see any progression on their part. They just qualify in the back and then they go forward in the race, but it's too late by that.
Yeah, you can only rely on strategy so much, but I think you're right. Base package just isn't fast enough to be top 5 team. So can't polish a turd.
Well put. So enough of Aston. We have AlphaTauri next, and
they've just been meh.
Yeah,
I expected so much more, especially of Gasly, but
yeah.
just
Gasly has disappointed me very much. Yuki has been showing a lot more fight in him, I think, than Gasly, and Gasly was one of those drivers that really fought for everything that he wanted from the car, and it seems that he's been always down. I don't. Uh, it's always been, yeah. You chose the right word, meh. It's all of that, all of it. It's been meh.
well, you sort of find yourself in races going, oh, they're still in. It just are they actually there? It, just I expected a lot more from them, especially after last season.
Yeah, because last season was a very good one for Gasly, and it was last season that they won Monza
Yeah, Monza.
with Gasly, and Yuki towards the end was coming along very nicely, and he was starting to make some progress and showing what he showed on F2 and on the junior categories. But to be honest, I think Yuki has been much better when he's not sticking it into the wall while getting out of the pits, like in Canada. Um, but yeah, the car has been meh. It's very good looking car. They have an interesting front wing with the nose below the front wing. It's not. It's different from every car on the grid. But yeah, it's been pretty much a disappointment so far. And I
Yeah,
can't really find anything to say about them, to be honest.
that's the thing. They've just not really done anything, which is sad and shocking to say, but we expect a bit more out of them next time, I think.
Yeah. They actually, unlike Aston, I think they have a base package good enough to improve. It's just a question of if they can bring the right um, upgrades, and this year is much harder to bring updates or uh, good enough updates to make a difference. But let's see. It's one of those teams that we don't really know. And for those of you that are thinking that the landscape of F1 is going to completely change at Spa week, not this weekend, but the other one, so almost 2 weeks. Um, the factories and the people have been all stopped for 2 weeks, and then they just a week before the next race are they able to start working again, and that's part of the cost cap measures. So most of the work that they might bring has to be before that, can't be from the summer break. So yeah, I don't think I have about AvaTauri, to be honest.
No. We'll just leave them at meh. Meh.
Another one that for me is disappointment, has much disappointment in them. The next one, which is Haas, and that's because they actually think have a car that should be capable of being ahead of the midfield, and they are way back from Pine or Alpine. I don't know.
Alpine. Yeah. The way they started, I don't think you would have found a happier person than Gunter at Bahrain after a year of having to say, yeah, we're going to be shit this year, but we're going to do it all for next year. It's all for next year. And then turn up at the first race, and I think Magnussen was P6 on the grid.
I think so.
And they've been, they were legit.
Yeah, and
then
he actually got P5 in the race.
Yeah, and then the next couple of races, I know Mick destroyed a couple of cars and just had a few bad luck incidents, but I think they've definitely, like you say, they've got the potential, they've shown it, and they just seem to lose their way every now and again and drop back to being mid-pack.
bottom of the mid pack because they are almost 20 points to Alfa Romeo, and they didn't do any upgrades on the car until Austria, I think. So Austria was 3 races ago, but
Yeah.
and they had a good race at Austria, but even so, I I mean, small updates are going to make a little bit of a difference, but they are not going to make your car that faster. They might make the pace more reliable, but I don't think it's
Not
going.
not when you're updating your car every 3 or 4 races, and everyone else is updating every race or every second race. You know, it's never going to be enough, is it?
Yeah, I actually think the points could be a little bit higher if Mick was a little bit more experienced. We he, Everyone is saying, and I know I believe that as well, that he is a slow starter, so he needs a little bit of time to get used to a formula. But I think that in the beginning of this season, he was surprised that Magnussen was so fast right away. I think he's been overdriving the car a bit, to be honest, and having a little bit too many crashes beginning of the season. And I think that in the constructors championship standings has hurt us that part.
Yeah, he notoriously needed a couple of seasons in GP2 before he was legit fighting for the championship. But it doesn't matter who you are. F1 takes no prisoners. Does it? You're not allowed time to get used to it. You have to come in and perform. Simples. Otherwise, you get moved out.
Yeah,
Because there's
let's see
plenty
from
of other drivers.
Yeah, and there's already talks that out of the Ferrari young driver thing. I've heard some rumors.
There's heard some rumours about he's going to Alpine next year, but then so far everyone's driving for Alpine next year.
Aren't you going to? Did you put in your resume?
But I can't confirm nor deny that.
Let's see. Your helmet looks good on an Alpine, if it's the blue one.
Yeah, I didn't have any guitar, so I thought I'd put that there instead.
I have to take my motorcycle helmet and put it right there for the next time. So yeah, I think there's still a chance that some good things are to come this season for Haas. Vic has been performing more reliably and has beaten Magnussen, like in Austria, was amazing. From the races prior to Austria was amazing because he was way faster than Magnussen. His race pace was amazing. He actually was fighting with Hamilton for a lot of times. Mercedes got on top of some of their car characteristics. There
we go.
That word, yeah. For podcast listeners, I'm not English. It's not my first language.
Well,
so,
you're not.
So we might actually see some good stuff coming from them.
I think he's had a very good second half to the first half of the season, if that makes sense. So it'll all tell how he comes back from the summer break. If he's gone away, got his head together and that, I think he's going to come back and pick up, or he's going to come back and he's going to put it in the wall again and be back to the start of the season crashing because he's trying too hard.
And to be honest, I don't think that Gunter's way of dealing with drivers, or at least what comes out
on Netflix.
I'm not talking only Netflix, but yeah, on Netflix it shows that he's quite hard the way he talks with drivers and all that stuff. And I think Mick is a driver that needs nurtured into the environment, team, and all that stuff. So
he needs a hug, not shouting at.
Yeah, That's it. So if he is able to maybe get to Alpine, I think it would be a good thing for him. To be honest, because Otmar seems to be the kind of guy that can get something from drivers. I think he has a different way of dealing with drivers. No
Yeah,
matter what,
agreed.
his words have been horrendous on the last couple of days. But yeah. So next we have Alfa Romeo. Um, Alpha. I think their car is quite good, to be honest. I think it was way better than I expected from the testing. Didn't expect much of them from testing, but uh, it's quite a nice race car.
Yeah, and Valtteri seems to be getting the maximum out of it, and I think enjoying the freedom of probably being out of the Mercedes shackles. And you can see just in his nature and his driving, he's a little bit more relaxed, a little bit
Yeah, and
happier, for want of a better phrase.
he's been talking about it's the first time in F1 that he has a contract that with more than 1 year duration. Even in the days, it was always 1 year contract. So yeah, that might taking that and being the team leader and all that stuff been working for him. I do think that in comparison to other teams that they didn't develop as well as McLaren, as Alpine, because uh, Alfa Romeo was like in front of Mercedes in the first race. Like they qualified in front both Mercedes. So then they just down and down and down, but still they got some good pace. And our first Chinese Formula One driver seems to be much better than I expected, to be honest. Been putting up some good drives. He's been very unlucky times, liability stuff. He's been driving very good in my.
Yeah, he's been consistent. He's been the number two they need from a rookie number two, just bringing the car home. Unfortunate at Silverstone. Hell of a shunt. 100% nothing to do with him, but yeah, I think he's done well. Can't
Yeah,
really fault
and
him, you know.
actually, talking about Silverstone, there's actually some new technical regulations for next year. They are still deciding on how they are going to do it, and that comes from the roll hoop on the top of the car. So when you look at a Formula One car, there's a camera thing on the top, and that whole thing, you see the camera and you see where the air intake, and all of that collapsed when he crashed, when the car just. Because if you haven't seen, go see in the F1 YouTube channel. You have there the crash, and the car dug in the side and roll over. And to be honest, if it was 4 years ago, when was it that the Halo came on, like 4 or 5 years ago, it would be very different crash.
A different accident, yeah.
Yeah, because that part failed. So if you don't know, you have the Formula One car, you have the cockpit and the nose of the car, then you have the airbox, and there's actually a line that you have to go from the top of the rollover hoop to front of the
Front of the chassis.
front of the chassis, and that has to clear. You draw a line that that structure has to remain solid, so that when the car rolls, the driver's neck doesn't take all the impact. And that part failed, and if it didn't have the halo, it was going to be a very different story. So we're going to have some new technical regulations for that, because they found that the way that the rules were, like there was a horizontal force that was not taken into account all of these years for some reason, and
Okay.
it can pass. It's a question that it can pass the crash test, and if there's a like an impact in a specific angle, it can. So they are going to stiffen that part. Different test for that for next year. That's for 2023. They're not going to do that. So, anything else to say about Alpha? Romeo?
Nothing I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, now we're starting to get to the most interesting part of the grid, because I think that this fight for the I'm not sure how to call this, because we always said the best of the rest, but um, unlike the points tell one story, but we know that the performance tells another, because Mercedes, I think it's performance wise is in nowhere, no man's land. It's way in front of Alpine and McLaren, but still a long way behind Ferrari and Red Bull pace wise, like car performance wise. I don't know if you have a different opinion right now, because they've been
Yeah,
doing quite well.
I think Mercedes are probably the most improved performance-wise, or sorry, they've maximised every weekend. Excuse me. The car's been rubbish, and the porpoising has been the main effect. It's got those pretty flash-looking side pods, the no-pod side pods that they came out with, and scared a few people.
Pretty and that and those side pods.
I don't know. I think it's not a bad-looking car. It's a nice.
Let's have the first argument of the podcast.
It's good. It's good design work. It's good it's that people are thinking like that.
Yeah.
But they've maximised. The car's not good, and they're getting performance out of it, whether it be through strategy or the best we can hope for is a P5, and they're getting P5. So I think they've done well.
Yeah. So
very
Mercedes
impressive, George.
Mostly Formula 1.1, maybe, or Formula 0. I don't know how to call it. I think we would put Red Bull and Ferrari a little bit ahead. But then we have the two teams we're going to talk
Definitely.
about that are, I think, ahead, a bit ahead of the other ones that we talk. Haas could be thereabouts with them, I think, if they had did some upgrades more often. But we have McLaren in 5th and Alpine in 4th with almost the same points. So let's get one thing. Do we think that the McLaren is a as good car as the Alpine, or do we think that Lando is just doing a stellar season and Daniel can't that he can't do the same thing as Lando is undeniable? But what do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think that the Alpine is a much better car and Lando is taking the McLaren forward? Do you think the McLaren is a much better car and Daniel just dropped the ball massively? And
I don't know if it's a better car either way. I think Alonso is dragging the Alpine to where it is and pushing the development and pushing you can see his race strategy is always on point, much the same as Lando is dragging the McLaren up and just getting those extra percentages out of it. Ricardo, I don't know what's happened to him. The rumours are whether it's just the McLaren and the way you have to go through the different modes on the steering wheel to change settings on the car is very gamey, and he just can't get it. just something's not clicking. Whereas for Lando, it's a lot more intuitive, and he's able to get the performance out of the car because of what you have to do with the car.
So you're
But
saying
yeah,
it's
it's
more
a
of a settings wise. So while driving, what you do with
yeah,
electronics of the car that is able to take that much performance out of the
yeah,
car.
exactly. And I think let's be honest, he's the older generation of driver. He's not your Landos who've between sim racing and just probably more dexterity on the wheel, Max and that, or the ones that are able to get the performance in a situation where you are changing modes multiple times in a lap to pull a lap out, and whether it's just not clicking for Danny. Don't get me wrong, I think he's brilliant. There were Honey Badger, he's a cracking driver and good for the sport, but
yeah, anyone that says that Daniel is just not that good, as good as we thought, I think are not getting the whole picture of Daniel, because he was able, and he's not like it may be that his driving style was more in tune with the Red Bull, because let's not forget he was at Red Bull in the turbo hybrid era, and Max came along and he beat Max on points, and it was thereabouts on pace.
he's not
So
slow.
he's
We
not
know
slow,
that.
yeah,
It's
that's it.
just something's not clicking.
I don't know. I've heard this story that last year when he went to Laren, uh, the when he went and passed Carlos Sainz on the uh, 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 somewhere, and the only thing that Carlos said was, "It's weird, isn't it?" So it might be some characteristics of the car. It might be the way electronics work with the car. Because let's not forget that there's a lot about these cars that just alien to any of us. So even a guy such as you that has raced cars and has had, I think, traction control and all those things on a car, or maybe not. I
Yeah,
don't think
but nothing
like
to
this.
the
So
degree that these have. It's just phenomenal the amount of settings you can play with.
yeah, and um, front grip and rear grip. When you see one of those wheels, it's crazy what they are doing with these cars. So, and Alpine, what we have to say about Alpine? Are they going
Definitely,
to start another 5 year uh, schedule thing next year? Because there seems to be that they are doing that for 7 years now.
I don't know. They well, we obviously wait to see who they appoint in there, and you've got. I think losing Fernando's a big thing. But then Fernando is probably one of the most selfish F1 drivers that we all know of, and it's not about the team, it's about him looking good and helping the team, sort of thing. So, yeah, we'll see what influence he's had in the development of the car and the versus Ocon and how much he's putting into it. I think he's stepped up this year quite a lot. Better than I thought. I thought Alonso was going to put him in the shade.
Yeah, I think last year, because of what Fernando, the experience that he has, I think that he was able to come out of hiatus like Ocon did, because Ocon had an hiatus as well. I think he was able to come out of the hiatus much faster than Ocon. But this year, I think Ocon is in front of Fernando on the standings.
Yeah, I think they're very close.
Yeah, but let's not forget that Fernando got a few reliability problems in the start of the season. But Ocon is 58 points and 41. So for the problems that Alonso had, and that, if you can remember, that amazing qualifying lap he was doing at Australia, that he was going to put it on pole, it looked like. And the way the qualifying went on, I think if he was able, because I think he lost hydraulics on
Yeah.
that second last corner.
It's like second,
I think.
third corner from the end.
Yeah.
The right-hander.
The right-hander after the. Yeah, I have to think now because they changed the track. Is it they changed the profile of that fast left right? Yeah, and it's a different profile, but it's right after that. So yeah, I think Alonso is still mega. Let's not kid ourselves. He's still operating at the.
Yeah, I mean the boy's super quick, and like you say, his thought capacity whilst driving, on strategy, on everything is just second to none. You know, you'd put him up there with the likes of Hamilton and Verstappen when it comes to just he's talking about other people's races whilst driving his own race at 100%, which is very few people can do.
Yeah. So, going on from Alpine, we have Mercedes. We already started talking about them a little bit. So, one word to sum up Mercedes season so far.
Does it have to start with a P?
Probably
Painful.
Because was able to screw with me. Yeah, they've had this problem with porpoising, and if people don't know where it is, it's correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a phenomenon on the ground effects that it stalls the diffuser and it loses downforce or section
Grip.
of the diffuser grip, and then it gains again all at once, and then loses it, and then it oscillates and does a. It's called porpoising because of the dolphins, the waves, and about every car is having it. But Mercedes her is crazy.
Yeah, they're all having it because at the end of the day, a ground effects car, you want to run it, as the name says, on the ground as low as you can get it. It's maximum grip. Then you end up with the stalling and pops up, and you get your bouncing. So the way to negate that is you raise the car, and you don't get porpoising, but you're slower.
Yeah, Lando was talking about that they were are way high to not
And
have the porpoising.
So the whole thing about Mercedes trying to get a dispensation and get it changed in the regs, it's like, well, everyone else managed to build a car that doesn't have it, so just lift yours up and then you don't have the problem.
Yeah, and talking about that, it backfired massively because they are going to install a device that doesn't allow a certain amount of Gs. So they are purposing they can't be from part harder than that.
Yeah.
And the floor edges are going to be raised by 15 millimeters for next year. So I actually see this as an advantage for Red Bull because I think Red Bull they were able to get a high rake car to work ground effect, and that seems a little bit odd because normally in ground effect, like you said, you want to go with low as you can with here, but you can actually see the rake of the car very high on the Red Bull.
But then they've also we'll go into Red Bull later, but then they've also designed their whole car's been around top speed versus so their design ethos from the season is we're going to be fast, and I think at some places they were 10, 15 k's faster without DRS, and you're like,
Yeah.
So you can see where they've come at the thing is like this is our tactic and it's working.
Yeah, and for
But enough of them.
for us that been following the sport, a little bit, at least from the beginning of the last decade. Red Bull was always the car with most downforce, so it's a bit of a reversal of
Yep, massively.
massively. So, but Mercedes was able to about get on top of the porpoising, because I don't see it as much now.
Yeah, I don't think they've fully unlocked it. I know some of the guys there have said that the car is quick, they have the pace, they've just got to find that switch, they've just got to find that setting that suddenly turns off the porpoising, but just unleashes the full potential of the car. So again, I think performance-wise, they've maximised their package every weekend, whether that be fifth or podiums. We'll see. I think they're closer, but they're still not in the same race yet as the red ones and the blue ones.
Yeah, but let's not forget they got a pole position last race. Was that?
Yeah, it's one
I
lap.
think that was just a massive effort from George.
Yeah, I think it was a cracking lap. I think it was a very good lap, and that it was clearly not sustainable. That's a difference. The other two were putting in the fast lap and having sustainable pace through the race. That's where, and don't get me wrong, Mercedes race pace is good, but they're just not quite on top of the other guys.
Yeah, completely.
But they'll be there. I mean, you don't win 8 teams championships and 7 drivers and all this other stuff without learning a thing or two. So
amazingly, only 30 points ahead of them. 30 points, think about that.
yeah,
Ferrari
easily clawed back.
have Ferrari, which some still say it's the fastest car on the grid, and it may well be.
I think I'd agree with that.
But yeah,
But they've got Smurfs running the pit wall.
You say that, but I've watched the highlights from the beginning of the season. Do you think that they messed up that badly apart from Austria and Monaco with Leclerc?
I think Leclerc's is obviously had a few issues himself and some bad luck, but I think, yeah, it's difficult. A couple of the decisions they've made, you just think, what are they doing? Especially lately, these last few ones.
Yeah, if people don't know what we're talking about, in Austria it was horrendous. They put Leclerc on the hard tires, and the hard tires didn't work for anyone. And let's not be mistaken. McLaren did it as well with Lando at Daniel, but Lando was able to make it work because he was behind the front guys, but he was massively ahead of the rest of the field, so he was able to just keep there.
Manage the gap.
Yeah, manage the gap. He did such a good first half of the race that he was able to. So that cost them the victory in Austria. And they got it massively wrong in Monaco, where they changed the tires to intermediates, to inters on Leclerc's car, and it was the wrong decision to do because 2 laps after they were all changing to dry tires, so he had to stop the time and came out behind everyone.
Was that his call to come in, or was it the team's call?
Yeah, so I'm putting that on the team. I don't know if it was his call. When he went to the dries, he was shouting on the radio, talking to them, "What the hell are you guys doing?" So I'm going to put that on the team, but I don't know. It might not be. And the other race that his strategy didn't work was Silverstone, but I think that it couldn't work there because when the safety car came in, he was just past the pits. I think
Yeah, he was unlucky with that one.
that was unlucky. But he actually crashed a lot of times this season. And they've had reliability problems like no other engine manufacturer.
Yeah, I think, and I'd say on the strategy side and pit stop side of things, the one thing that I have noticed is Carlos has been a lot more vocal about saying, "No, I'm not doing that. You're being stupid," and whether that's going to play a factor come their final standings come the end of the year, because he's not listening to them, and Charles seems to just blindly do whatever they tell him.
Yeah, and we have 20 points, 22 points between them. And I think Carlos has been plagued with more problems.
So he's had a lot of reliability.
Australia was his fault, but then Imola was not his fault. He was tagged by Daniel, and he has had many reliability problems as well as Charles has. But Charles has had some thinkers as well. The way he lost it in France was crazy. I think for a driver of his
caliber,
caliber, I think it was shocking. At least for me, because I rate him very high. I'm coming from a rating Charles that high place. Although we haven't seen his potential yet on Formula One, like full potential, because he hasn't had, apart from this year, he hasn't had a car to fight. He had in, it was 2019, yeah, but it was the engine gate thing.
illegal car.
Yeah, I think I have to start doing these views are the views of Mr. Earl and not the Bump Draft and Pray podcast. Don't come after us. I have to start doing that.
All comments are my own. All views are my own.
Yeah. So
well, they got penalised for it, and they had to change the fuel regulator, and all of a sudden they were slow again. That's cheating in my book.
yeah. So yeah. So they might have the fastest car. I actually believe that it's not that much faster than the Red Bull, to be honest. I think. But
no, I think we're talking like half a tenth.
Yeah, it's not how we say that car. It's not like Mercedes in the last 7-8 years. Not counting last year, because last year Red actually made a decent car. So that brings us to Red Bull and Mr. Consistency and world champion and soon to be 2 times world champion, Max Verstappen, because he's very far ahead right now. I think he could not come for 2 months and he will still be ahead in the standings, because he's very
excuse me. Yeah, I think for the first time in a long time, Red Bull gave him a car at the start of the season that was fast. They've always had issues, be it reliability, pace, at the start of the season, and then slowly they claw it back, and come the second half of the season, they're fast. And how many times have we said, if only he had this car at the start of the season, he would have walked the series? And here's living proof. Give him a good car from the start. And I might not like Max very much, but you can't stop. But he's ruthless.
Yeah, and he's one of those drivers like Hamilton was when he came to the sport, that just his presence changes the way that the sport operates. I think Lewis did that as well. That's why I'm always saying I was already watching Formula One when Lewis came, and the way he drove was different from everyone. The way he battled with other guys, so I actually see many parallels between the two on the way they came to the sport.
Sort of
Which,
redefine the rules.
yeah. So it just took it to further step. And let's not forget that both of them share a idol that you share as well. They are both massive Senna fans, and people seem to forget that. They seem to think that it's only Lewis that is a massive Ayrton fan, but coming to sim racing that we are going to talk about in future episodes. If you go to Max's iRacing profile, it says, I think if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver, something like that. It's one of the Ayrton's codes, so they are kind of made of the same stuff. I feel. So yeah, so Red Bull they had a slow start to the first race. They had a double DNF, power unit related, and we cannot forget that it's not only the cars. The cars from this year are completely different to the last season, but the power units, although they are the same, about the same, it's a turbo hybrid exactly in the same way, but the fuel changed, and the fuel change a lot of differences because it's higher biofuel content. So I think that threw a curveball into the season as well. So we have that. So, like I said, we have, if we go to the construction standings, we have Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, Alpine, McLaren, Alfa Romeo, Haas, AlphaTauri, Aston, and Williams. So we just went through all of them. And Max Verstappen is on top of the standings with almost 100 points more than second place. Charles Leclerc. Paris is almost with the same points as Leclerc, so we might still have a Red Bull Constructors Championship, and Max and Paris being first and second. I think that's what's going to happen in normal second half of the season.
I don't know if this is the way Ferrari have been this year. You can't really call it a normal season, and they're the only real competition at the moment. I don't know. I think Spa will be telling. Everyone's gone away, regrouped, done whatever they need to do to unwind, forget about it. And if Charles doesn't win Spa, then Max is going to disappear into the distance very quickly. I think he needs to, just for his confidence, his head, and go out there, pole, win it. Thank you very much. And then I think he might go on a bit of a run or put a consistent push against Max. But I think if Max turns up and wins Spa, it's game over. As much as previous seasons have told us it's not over till the last lap, but I don't know.
Already
He's got
80 points, so
he's got that first championship out the way now. So there's nothing to prove. There's an air of confidence that comes from that in his driving, and you can see that. I can't see anyone beating him this year.
Yeah.
And I'm not a Red Bull fan. I'm a Ferrari. If anything, it's Ferrari or McLaren, but you can't deny that the Red Bull are doing the job, aren't they? I mean, you only have to look to, as Hungary, he was absolutely nowhere, and then just waltzed through and won it. And yeah,
completely. So with Formula One done, let's go to the WEC very quickly. The WEC is not a championship that we have that much to talk about. Some say that the WEC is a way to get to Le Mans and then just forget about it. Yeah, you can speak.
Yeah, no, it's way about right there. WEC has been strange one, I suppose. Yeah, standard, nothing really changed. All the excitement, all the hype is for the coming season next year with the hypercars.
Yeah, because we actually see like WEC's website is not Formula One's like clear. So we had Sebring to start the year, but I got the feeling. I know that Toyota won Spa, uh, but I get the feeling that Sebring and Spa were just races to manage the BOP until Le Mans, because they do BOP on WEC. So yeah, I got that feeling because I mean Toyota had many problems at Sebring, and it was a crazy race. We had red flags that were um, that came because of a Toyota, because they I think it was Lopez that got it wrong while lapping a GTE and crashed, and then while he was coming to the pits, he crashed again, all alone.
Yeah, not a good day for him.
No, not a good day. He looked like me driving Sebring. Um, and uh, and Alpine came away with a win there, and the LMP2 class we had basically it was a landslide by United
United Autosports, yeah.
Autosports. Yeah, I think that they was the car that with Felipe Albuquerque. I think that one, the 28, I think.
Not sure.
Or which car it was, but it was. Let's not forget that Sebring is around the same time as IMSA goes to Sebring as well. So it was. So in that part on the LMP2s, I think, and because United Autosports, it's an American team, I think they were playing way the home ground. And GTE wise, I seem to remember that it was a Porsche.
No, I can't remember if they're top of their head. They have
I was trying to see. Yeah, I have it here, Sebring, but it's cars. So, the Porsche was the Porsche, and the LMP2 that won was the United Autosports. No, it wasn't. Oh, it's fourth place. Oh, fourth. Yeah.
It was fourth overall. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember. United Autosports, the car, the 22 car had a problem, like because they were leading. Both of them were leading the race, changing places, but then they had a crash. Whatever it was, had a crash. Porsche in the GTE Pro class, Porsche and Corvette were like fighting all the race.
That's pretty much the spec for every round, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In the GTE Pro portion, Corvette
yeah,
slinging it.
If I'm not mistaken, it's IF Corsa that's leading the championship because they have had problems. Like it's always a Porsche and a Corvette that are fighting for the win, but then something happens and
IF Corsa,
it's always second, third, and it's always able to.
Well, endurance racing, consistency, finishing in.
Then we had Spa. If I can select it. I can't.
So no.
Spa was another crazy race. I actually saw much of it live, and don't always because these are endurance races. You can't watch the entire race. You can, but I have family. and in Spa it was crazy rain, like many times. We had red flags. We had a LMP2 car leading the race for much of the time.
Yeah.
Um, and then right at the end, Toyota was able to win the race. And let's not forget we had Glickenhaus on pole for that race. It was a Glickenhaus
Yes, yes.
Um, so that was it, and Jota won. No, it was not Jota. It was WRT. But that was about it. From the race, I think that was about it. It wasn't. It was basically a standard race, like Spa race, like very mixed up because of the rain and the safety cars and full course yellows and all that stuff. But yeah, it was one of those that I didn't have much to talk about. To be honest, apart from that, like it was a mad
Yeah,
race.
not much else to say on it, is there?
Yeah, no. And then we came to the jewel of WC. Um, let's not get our hopes high. Toyota was always going to win by a landslide.
Yeah, as long as they kept running, it was theirs to lose. Simples.
Yeah, and the Alpine barely ran at all. They were more time in the pits than they were on track. So we didn't have that good of a race for the LMP1 class. In the LMP2 as well, because Jota, the car of Felix Acosta, so the car 38, led 3/4 of the race. So it was just basically be reliable. It was a lot like Toyota's race. They just didn't start in front. And they won for at least Felix Acosta was the first time. I don't know if Jota was the first time that they won Le Mans, but they were over the moon with that one. And then we come to the most interesting thing about this year's
Le Mans.
Le Mans. It was a crazy crash, and Corvette were leading first and second in the GTE Pro class for all of the race. Then in the end of the night, they had a problem with one of the cars that got out of the race, the DNF, and then they had a crash in the middle of the straight where the car that was fighting for the LMP2 AM category for the win, because LMP2 has this weird thing. I don't know why they do it, why they can't just do it like they do on GT. So they have LMP2s, then there's actually an LMP2 AM because of the drivers that drive the car, the licenses that they have, and there's actually a different prize for the team that finishes first on that like mini category. And they actually were lapping the GTEs, the Corvette that was leading the race, and they crashed him basically in the middle of the straight.
Yeah, it's a horrible shunt. And you got to feel for Corvette. They've done nothing wrong all race. And then I can't remember who the Pro-Am driver was that did it, but he said afterwards that while he was passing the other back marker, he jinked. So he saw in his peripheral a jink, so he jinked. And he then hit the Corvette on his left, who was basically staying out of the way, and put him into the barrier on the Mulsanne, which is not going to be fun.
Yeah, because they were pretty wide.
Yeah.
And it was, if you see from the point of view of the driver, It was the GTs or the Corvette on the left hand side, and it was the Pro Am guy on the middle, and there was another LMP2 on the right.
Yeah.
He thought he saw the LMP2 on the right jink a little bit, so he jinked with him, and his rear left bumped the front right of the GTE car and just launched him into the barrier. And in Mazan on the Mulsanne straight, you have railing both sides. It's very wide, but it's railing. It's very hard to hit there, and if you hit that way, the crazy how he was able to come out of that just fine, because he would just fine. But to be fair to the guy that crashed them, he went to the Corvette pit box and apologized for the incident, assumed the mistake. It's one of those drivers that he was on one of the gentleman drivers. He has actually, I think it was his 10th law, but he's not a professional race driver. So yeah, these things in the WC can happen because we have a very mixture of
varying skill levels.
Yeah, and you've been on that kind of grid, so our experience that it's 0. So yeah, and then we had Porsche. I think Porsche won in Le Mans. Why isn't that website working? I hate this website. Oh, that's it. So we had Porsche winning, I think. Let's see. Yeah, it was a Porsche that won. They were fighting with the Ferrari, I think. So you can see now that of course, I was second and third, the Pro GT Pro class. So that's why they have so many points. And then we had like I have to pull for my country now in the WC because in Le Mans we had a Portuguese driver win in LMP2 in GTM with Rick Chaves winning for TF Sports in the Aston in the GTM class or the GT Pro M class. I don't know. The naming of WC is crazy. And we had the Algarve racing team winning in the category that we talked about, the LMP2 M. We had 3 Portuguese related people or teams podium. So the only race we have still to talk about was probably most interesting because we had actually a new car, the new team going to the hypercar grid, which was Monza and Peugeot there. And we had another thing. We had the first pole position done by a female driver on WC in the LMP2 class. And so I can actually bring up the qualifying times because they had problems. Peugeot had problems, but they were able to do a 37.2, which is not that off the pace from the lower usual hypercars that we have on track. Because 7 Toyota had a 36.9. So it's kind of a promising start for them. Not that bad.
Yeah, first run in public. So first race, teething problems are always going to be there. So I think it'll be interesting to get them to Le Mans and see what they can do with their no wing radical style versus everyone. So, and with like you say, hypercar being quite busy next few years, it's going to be quite interesting.
Yeah, because I think next year you're going to have Peugeot and going to have, I don't know off the top of my head the new ones, but it's going to BMW maybe.
We've got Excuse me. Where
Porsche,
you've got the
Porsche
bit
is going to be there.
Porsche, BMW, Ferrari are running theirs.
Then 2024 is going to be the crazy year to be the hypercar. It's going to have like 7, 8.
Yeah,
manufacturers.
Lamborghini and just everyone's coming out.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what we have. So season like the standing now. So don't we have a standing?
Your favorite website.
I think this website is honest. So I promise that for next time that we talk about manufacturer championship. So yeah. Oh, we have Toyota in first place. Oh, I thought I saw somewhere that it was Alpine. No, Toyota in the last race passed them. So we have Toyota and we have Alpine and Glickenhaus. Actually, Peugeot got 12 points. It was just finished, so okay, they have some few. That's it. So yeah, in this season we have a few races to go. We have Towers of Fuji, which is next month, I think, and then the 8 hour. Yeah, it's September. So we're going to talk about them soon. Then we have the season finale. Let's hope that it's not as chaotic as last year, the GT Pro class. And there's going to be it for this year's season. So 2 more races for the WC, and it's going to be a goodbye for the GT Pro class for next season. Next season, the GTs are going to be only GTM. And then the year after that, in 2024, we're going to have GT3s and WC. So it's going to be goodbye to GTs and hello to GT3s. So
it all change.
It's going to change. The landscape is going to change a lot for next. So I think this is it for our F1 and WC recap. We've gone. It's about the time that I wanted to have. So just to finish things off, this is going to be on all of the audio form is going to be in all your podcasts apps. We already submitted them the last yesterday's episode, and we are already in Apple podcasts. The other ones, it's just a question of being accepted. And this episode is going to be a 2-parter on the podcast, so that it is that big, so it's just smaller chunks. And it's going to be 2 45-minute episodes. One of them is going to be uploaded right away, and the other one next week. And then the week after that, it's going to be Formula 1 week. So we're going to have some more nice things to talk about. We're going to talk about Spa. How Max Verstappen already 100 points ahead.
So is that your pick for Spa then? I'm going Charles.
Yeah, you're going Charles. I think I'm going.
I'm going Charles.
Just because it's. I know Charles is very good there, but Spa is a speed counts very much at Spa, and if Red Bull are able to get their straight line speed that they seem to have, or I actually think that the difference is smaller now. I think in the beginning of the season it's way faster, but I think Ferrari noticed that you actually need straight line speed, so you can't just put 1,000% on course and then forget about straight line speed. But I think Red Bull still have a little bit of an edge on the speed wise, straight line speed, and let's not forget that Max, although he's from Holland, he actually was born in Belgium, so Belgium is kind of his home race. his mother is from Belgium, so I think he really wants to win it. He seems to like the track. It's driver's track, so of course he's going to love it. So yeah, Earl is going Charles, and I'm going Max. And then Hamilton is going to come and win the race.
Yeah.
He's going to
George.
George. Yeah.
To be fair, if George wins it, I'll be rather happy. That would be good.
Yeah, me as well. I'm actually I'm. There's only one driver that I want to get his first win more than George. But
Yeah. I don't think it's likely at the moment.
no. Best chance was Russia last year, and it was the first time that I was kicking the couch. Actually, this couch, because this couch was downstairs. So I've kicked this couch when that happened. So a mess happened. So I've been Pedro Barbosa. So you can find me at in Twitter at Pedro Barbosa SR, and I've had Earl with me that I just noticed it has the biggest flags in the world. It's not just the helmet. You have the Benetton that you drove. Is that you driving?
Yeah. I had
There's
to do that
picture
for
of
you.
driving the Benetton, the 94 Benetton. Oh man, I just noticed it out of the car. So for those of you that are not, oh, that's a nice picture. This is good for a podcast. Me drooling about your Benetton
Oh.
that you're showing everyone. So we've had Mr. Earl Goddard. That you can follow him at Twitter at his handle is Earl Goddard. It's really easy. It's two
Quite
B's.
simple, yeah.
And you can follow the podcast everywhere. It's just the same handle at Bump Draft Pray. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our email is dappodcast@gmail.com. You can send your questions and maybe we will answer them on stream, the podcast. So that was a nice one. Thank you.
Just a quick one. Don't remember everyone like and subscribe to the YouTube for us.
Like, subscribe, and hit the bell.
Let's work the algorithm.
Yeah, let's work the algorithm. Let's start making a difference in podcasting, motorsports podcasting world. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching. And
cheers, guys.
We'll live stream the English version of the podcast next when Spa happens. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. All right.
Bye.
Cheers, guys.